Well, Jameson and I worked hard. This was the president's deal, and people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left, and if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business, he understands deals,
God
and that's why.
What a wonderful speech. That's a beautiful speech right there by Howard Lutnick. I'm sorry, Lutnick, even though we know the latter fits him a lot better. Now, Donald Trump, this is a total retreat. Donald Trump retreated, threw in the towel, had a repentance, whichever way you want to put it. Donald Trump have another off-again trade deal. So once again, he proved to the world that he don't really know what he's doing. He retreated to China. So when we over here and we're trying to tell you that Donald Trump is not really trying to govern, Donald Trump is more interested in people praising him and telling him how great he is. He's basically trying to project strength in front of the world. But he's doing the opposite. He's showing rather weakness. Now, let me show you what Donald Trump did exactly when he came into office, just to prove my point. Usually, one of the first things he'll do is gather all his cabinet members to basically heap praise upon him and tell him how great he is. Now, let's play this one video right here.
Under your leadership, we are going to revitalize and make shipbuilding and maritime great again.
At the Trump EPA, we're going to make it proud.
The honor and respect we have for each other is a reflection of you and your leadership.
Thanks to your leadership.
You were overwhelmingly elected by the biggest majority.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership at the border.
Thanks to your fantastic leadership.
So the American worker is...
Look, even Elon Musk got it, especially billionaire. If you are a billionaire and you can tell Donald Trump how great he is, you love it. Because even if you go back in time and look at when he first got into office 8 years ago, he did the same thing. Got all his cabinet members just to tell him, just to remind him how great he is. Let's go back and take a look at that.
So I think what we'll do, most of you know most of the people around the room, but I'm going to start with our Vice President. Where's our Vice President? Our Vice President. There he is.
Thank you, Mr. President, and just the greatest privilege of my life is to serve as Vice President to a President who's keeping his word to the American people and assembling a team that's bringing real change, real prosperity, and real strength back to our nation.
Mr. President, I'm privileged to be here, deeply honored, and I want to thank you for keeping your commitment to the American workers.
President, what an incredible honor it is to lead the Department of Health and Human Services at this pivotal time under your leadership. I can't thank you enough for the privilege that you've given me.
So you got the point. Donald Trump he's not really interested in moving the country forward. Because if he really interested in moving the country forward, he would not have put himself in the situation that he did. Donald Trump declared April 2nd as Liberation Day. So he levied tariff on every single country out there. Gave them 90 days to come to dear old leader and beg him for relief. But instead, Donald Trump had to push that all aside. 25 days went by, 30 days went by, 35 days went by, and Donald Trump did not get one country to come to him, not realizing that the world changed. So what really happened behind the scenes is Donald Trump really had a trade war against China, because China is really the number 2 economy in the world. They have a GDP of over $20 trillion, which means that's a big economy. I mean, it's not about all these other countries. It's not about the UK. It's not about Europe, France. It's about China, because all these other countries, they really got small GDP. I think Russia got a $1 trillion GDP. So it was really a fight, a trade war against China. that he ultimately had to back down and he throw in the towels. He throw in the towel. Now let's play what Chuck Todd have to say, because I think Chuck Todd did a pretty good job kind of laying out what actually happened.
You're right about China. I think he's boxed himself in. He can't back down politically because he doesn't like to look weak. But I think the voters are going to render this verdict, because we've got a chain of stores here called the Dollar Store. Where do you think all their products come from?
So what really happened is Donald Trump started to feel the pressure. I mean, if you look at a lot of these ports and these docks, they were coming in empty barge, because Donald Trump do not know what he's doing, and he did not understand the severity of what he's actually doing. Now, let's play Lawrence O'Donnell, because he's going to kind of lay it out a different way.
Made the country a promise. It was a promise that the country did not ask for. And it has become, as they say in soccer, an own goal for Donald Trump. Donald Trump promised 90 deals in 90 days after he crashed the stock market by starting a worldwide trade war, which Donald Trump is very much losing, according to his own standard. Donald Trump promised 90 deals in 90 days 25 days ago.
So we're going to run 90 deals in 90 days is possible. The boss is going to be the chief negotiator.
The boss is going to be the chief negotiator. Wow, that's great. So that's the first time in history that the president of the United States would be the chief negotiator of any trade deal. And as of tonight, the chief negotiator, Donald Trump, is showing the world what the art of no deals looks like. Donald Trump has exactly 0 deals in 25 days.
I have a deal. Done. But I need to wait for their prime minister and their parliament to give its approval, which I expect shortly. Well, I'm not going to tell you what country.
Yeah, that's the guy we're supposed to take serious. So Donald Trump is really this guy who breaks stuff. Let's say, for example, let's take your grandma, for example. Grandma have this beautiful chinaware that she keep locked in a cabinet, and she talk highly of her chinaware, how great it is. Every now and then she'll brush it. Nobody get to use their chinaware. Donald Trump is that one guy who will come over, break that chinaware, and in a panic, he try to put it back together with crazy glue. Not even doing a good job. He got excess glue that he didn't remove, and the edges are not perfectly aligned. And he's just that type of guy that will come to you and say, hey, you should give me credit for putting this broken chinaware back together. I mean, that's the type of person we're dealing with. I mean, he causes this huge chaos in the market where a lot of folks lose a lot of money. If you have money in the 401k, you probably lost up to 15 to 25% of your portfolio. Just because Donald Trump want to come in and be disruptive. If Donald Trump had came in and not do anything, just let the economy keep trotting along. Because the economy wasn't great, but it was moving along in the right direction. He was trotting along in the right direction. I mean, the Wall Street Journal, which is a conservative newspaper, wrote last year that the U.S. economy is the envy of the world. That means every other country wasn't doing as good as the United States. And quite honestly, if you live in these United States, you should want to see the U.S. win. It should behoove you to see the U.S. do good. But that's not what it's all about. You can't have a guy who comes in being real reckless, turning the switch of the economy off, turning it back on, turning it off, turning it back on, and doing a lot of chaotic stuff. That's not genius. That's not genius. And you know, those folks out there who will try to tell us that you just don't get it. Donald Trump is this great tacticianist. He's this masterful chess player. You just don't understand this high-dimensional chess move. You know, at this point, shut the hell up. Because you are not that dumb. You just don't want to say that you're wrong. Because most of you guys already lost a big portion of your portfolio. Because what Donald Trump did not calculate was the fact that China, being the second biggest economy in the world, over the last 15 years has emerged as a manufacturing capital, an industrial capital of the world. There's no country that produces as much as China. And quite honestly, the US allowed these companies to move out and take their business to China to chase down cheap labor. And this is the result. Now, let's hear what the China global minister have to say. Let's play this video.
It has to be at the level of the two leaders here. We're talking about Xi Jinping as well as Donald Trump. Can a deal be struck only at that level?
Well, a couple of points, very briefly. I think for China and the United States to yank the tariff against each other on the Chinese side up to 125%, on the American side to a higher percentage, cannot be done without the personal approval of the top leaders of each of these two great nations. That's the first point. The second point is China has declared again and again and again that if the United States want to manhandle this free trade issue, China is prepared to fight to the very end. Now, the question is, what is the very end? What are the possibilities of the very end? Let me really think aloud for the benefit of your audience. I think, according to the Chinese interpretation, one of the end will be the two-way trade between China and the United States grinding to a complete halt. That means there will be no more Chinese exports to the United States, and there will be no more US export to China. Now, does China want to see this happen? Absolutely not. It's against China's own interest. But allow me to emphasize, China has another higher interest. That is free trade. China will never allow any country, no matter how powerful that country is, to really throw a huge wedge into free trade as if it can dictate terms to the rest of the world by holding a gun at China's head or any other country's head.
So where we at now is exactly where we started. China told Donald Trump on April 2nd that in order for you to get us to the table, you got to stop all that foolishness. Take the tariff off. That's the only way we'll come to the table. And Donald Trump waited for 25 days while the stock market do all type of crazy things. The market almost crashed, almost threw the economy in a recession before he was forced to back down. Even though the news media is trying to paint it as a trade deal. It's not a trade deal. It's Donald Trump removing the tariff that he put on China. All right, let's play this video.
Justin, great to see you as always. Your reaction to this deal to come up with a longer-term deal later?
Let me give you a short-term reaction and a longer run. The short-term reaction is this is very good news. Our tariffs on China were previously so high it was effectively an embargo. We don't actually have to travel to Geneva for the US government to decide to cut the rate at which it taxes Americans for importing goods from China, but I'm glad that it did, and it's going to create a whole lot of calm for the next few days. The medium run thing to worry about is, at the moment, the half-life of a tariff announcement from the White House is around 6 to 8 days. So as encouraged as I am that this is the movement, the direction in which it's moving, I'm not sure that that businesses can be confident that we're going to hit the more harmonious times that we had prior to this administration.
The director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, says that China made certain concessions when it came to allowing U.S. exporters to enter the Chinese market, or certain aspects of the Chinese market. I wonder what you make of that. Is that a win that the White House can point to justify levying these tariffs to begin with?
Oh, it's not a win, and it's not a justification, but more to the point, when the White House says we got some concessions, but I'm not telling you what they are, they told us this about the Britain-UK deal, and it turns out that the UK-US deal, that was actually not a deal. It was an agreement to have an agreement at some point in the future. So if it's not written down and signed and they're not willing to show us that, then I'm not sure I believe it.
So in other words, you don't really have a deal until you really have a deal. Stuff got to be negotiated, go in Congress, it got to be past the House, past the Senate. And all these guys are doing, all Donald Trump is doing is causing this huge volatility in the market. Now, there's a lot of economists. I mean, these are well-established economists. And I'm going to play Jeffrey Sachs. He's one of the top economists out there, taught at many universities, and even inform and counsel governors and government around the countries. Now, let's play what he has to say, because these guys are lately being very open to what Donald Trump is doing. All right, let's play this.
So if you stop trade, everybody loses. It's not that one side wins, the other side loses. He cannot understand that concept as a guy that traded real estate in New York. So his idea is somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. But what happened when he made this announcement was $10 trillion was wiped out worldwide. It's not that the U.S. went up and they went down. No, everybody went down, because the whole world system is based on a division of labor, and he's breaking that division of labor into pieces. It's a little weirder, because when he did this, in 2 days, the world lost $10 trillion of market capitalization. By the way, where did it go? Did it get transferred from here to here? No, it got destroyed. Why destroyed? Because trade, something also the President of the United States doesn't understand, is mutually beneficial. So if you stop trade, everybody loses. It's even the very rich people that gave him the money for him to get into office started saying this doesn't make sense. The hedge fund managers who were his big campaign contributors, Elon Musk, who paid for his election, became prime minister, he said this doesn't make sense. And then the markets said this doesn't make sense. Not only $10 trillion, but as the finance minister said, interest rates started to rise because people began to dump U.S. Treasury debt.
All right, so let me stop her right here. So Donald Trump have done some damages that some of these damages are irreparable. And some of these damage, we're not going to start seeing the effects for many years to come. And so that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with not a strategic person, but a guy who's basically just breaking stuff and swinging widely. You know, it was Theodore Roosevelt who said, speak softly and carry a big stick. But if you listen to Donald Trump, he yells very loudly and carry the smallest stick. Now, I'm going to end it right here. HRTV, I'm your host, Big O. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. We out. HRTV.